How we looking?
Just one case.
I don't know.
You don't know.
The story opens at a pawn shop. A man named Drake enters dressed completely in black. He walks around the store, carefully inspecting everything, and then sets an antique watch on the counter in front of the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper tells him it's merely a fake. However, the watch keeps ticking because it is secretly a bomb. When it detonates, several masked men rush inside. It turns out the pawn shop is only a front. Behind the scenes, numerous illegal operations are ongoing. Parties are happening as if it were some underground club. Drake seizes the manager. The manager nervously explains,
We moved it all to headquarters.
Drake doesn't trust him. He shoots both the manager's ears to force him to reveal the truth. The manager takes them to a hidden room behind a line of lockers. The room is filled with stacks of cash. Drake and his team shove all of it into their suitcases. Drake is about to kill everyone, but one partner intervenes, saying,
They ain't seen shit, bro.
Drake holsters his gun and instead blows them all up with a grenade. They carry the money to a rendezvous point where their true leader, Rhodes, instructs.
Lay low. Keep your routines. Don't meet one another. The 10th, meet across the res. As usual.
Today, the pilot is someone new. Their previous pilot is gone, but during a thunderstorm, the plane catches fire mid-air and crashes with all the cash inside. 5 months pass, and one of the cash-filled suitcases surfaces. Nearby lives a fish poacher named Harlan. He carries a photograph of his family with him at all times. Harlan collects his fishing gear and heads out onto a frozen lake. Just as he begins fishing, he spots a human hand protruding from the ice. Harlan clears the snow surrounding it. It is the deceased pilot. Right beside the body lies the suitcase. Harlan lifts it out. He snaps open the locks and peers inside. The suitcase is stuffed with money. Harlan is completely shocked. Beneath him, he notices the wreckage of the plane, submerged beneath the icy water. Harlan carries the suitcase of cash back to his tent. The next day, the scene moves to the frozen lake. A Native American game warden named Ani calls out to a group of tourists, warning that the lake is closed. The ice is under 4 inches thick. One arrogant tourist scoffs.
And who's gonna stop us?
The sheriff stands nearby, silent and unmoving. He says nothing to the tourists, but Ani locks their car's wheel with a clamp. The sheriff attempts to intervene, but Ani ignores him. Eventually, the sheriff must step in and calm the tourists down himself. Later, the sheriff informs Ani that a man named Jed has his truck trapped in the center of the lake. Ani immediately heads toward that location. Meanwhile, the scene moves to another gang member, a man named Penn. He has left his life of crime behind and is now living as a father. Suddenly, Drake arrives at his door. He informs Penn that the tracker was triggered yesterday on the lake. This means their $20 million lies beneath the ice. They will require diving equipment to retrieve it. Penn is a local resident, so he can serve as a guide. When they get to the lake, Penn explains that in 10 hours the ice will begin to melt, but the tracker is moving under the frozen surface. It could be the current, or it might indicate someone else is there. Back at the frozen lake, Ani reaches Jed to assist him, whose truck is stuck in the ice. At that moment, Harlan walks toward them. Jed explains to Annie that Harlan lives off the land while searching for his missing wife. Ani begins questioning Harlan, asking if he has a valid fishing license. While examining his belongings, she discovers the suitcase filled with cash. She asks, "What is this?" Harlan says he found it beneath the ice. Ani, however, does not believe him. She searches him more thoroughly and then ties his hands. She contacts the sheriff and reports,
I just arrested a poacher. A whole suitcase full of cash. Millions.
At that moment, Drake's team arrives on the scene. Drake says, "I believe you have something that belongs to us." He raises his gun, aiming at everyone present. When he notices there is only one suitcase, he questions,
Where's the rest of it?
Ani has no idea what he means. To protect Ani, Harlan lunges at Drake. Using the distraction, Jed grabs his firearm as well. A firefight erupts between the two sides. Serena fires at Jed. Annie jumps into her car and attempts to flee, but her vehicle remains tethered to Jed's truck. Harlan frees her car. The two drive off together, yet Serena jumps into the car alongside them. Harlan kicks her out of the moving vehicle and the suitcase plunges through the ice into the freezing water below. Meanwhile, Drake survives the gunfire because of his bulletproof vest. However, their SUV has a punctured tire. On the far side, Ani asks Harlan,
Where's the rest of the money and who the fuck are they?
There's a plane. Under the ice.
There's more money in the plane?
That is all Harlan can tell her. Ani begins thinking,
God, shoot. And get shot at. I am not made for this shit.
She radios the sheriff and says,
Send help now.
I'm on my way. I'm coming.
but then Ani's car stalls and stops in the middle of the frozen lake. At Harlan's request, Ani unties him. They each secure one end of a rope around themselves and start walking across the ice. Ahead lies gray ice, which is even more treacherous to cross. Behind them, Drake's team arrives at Ani's car, but their SUV gets trapped in the ice. The ice begins cracking and the SUV starts to sink. They attempt to pull their partner Ellis out. At the final moment, Ellis escapes both the vehicle and the freezing water. Meanwhile, Harlan speaks to Ani in the Blackfoot language, which he learned from his wife. Simultaneously, another of Drake's crew, a thief named Dax, arrives with a snowmobile to assist. On the lake, Ani and Harlan reach dangerously thin ice. Harlan says,
Let's run for it!
The two sprint across the cracking ice and make it safely to the shore. Riding a snowmobile, Dax spots Ani and Harlan from a distance. But before he can reach them, Harlan has already set bear traps on the ice. Dax's snowmobile collides with the traps head-on and flips over. Harlan fires an arrow at him. He does not allow Dax to retrieve his gun. The two engage in hand-to-hand combat. Dax grabs Harlan by the throat, but Harlan removes the arrow from Dax's body and strikes him with it again. With the ice breaking beneath them, Harlan falls into the freezing water, yet he uses it to his advantage. He swims under the ice, surfaces near Dax's legs, and attacks him with the arrow, but Dax points his gun at him. Just then, Ani approaches from behind and clamps a bear trap onto Dax's face. Ani pulls Harlan out of the icy water. Together, they start running once more. Drake's team arrives at the location of Dax's snowmobile. Dax lies dead in the icy snow. Witnessing this, his partner, Serena, goes into shock. Drake steadies her. Now, she grabs her gun, prepared to seek revenge. Ahead, Ani is guiding Harlan toward a hidden location few people know. Harlan's condition is worsening from the cold. Serena begins shooting at them. Because they are leaving tracks in the snow, Ani and Harlan choose to move through the water instead. Penn notices that they have taken the water route. Once they emerge from the water, Ani begins erasing their footprints. However, Penn, being a local, refuses to abandon the pursuit. He halts everyone in the center of the forest. This spot is a sacred medicine wheel. They are in bear territory, but no one pays attention to his warning. As a result, Serena steps directly into a trap. Using the opportunity, Ani and Harlan quietly slip away. They make their way into a network of large caves. Drake's team will not be able to track them inside. Drake's team breaks into a nearby cabin. Serena's leg is injured, and they tend to her wound. Ani starts a fire to warm Harlan. She asks him,
Is it true? Looking for your wife?
Not looking for her. She's dead.
Harlan explains that while he was in Afghanistan, they lost their daughter. She died from a lung infection. When Harlan returned home, it felt as if his wife was already gone. She refused to let him touch her. She stopped speaking until the house became completely silent. Then Harlan turned to alcohol to cope. He does not know how long she had been dead before he discovered it. Meanwhile, Rhodes himself arrives to join his team. Drake assures him that everything is under control. It's only a game warden and a poacher. Rhodes comforts Serena. Inside the cave, Ani and Harlan continue speaking about his wife. Ani explains,
My people, we have a cleansing ritual. Helps us mourn our loved ones. And then afterwards, we move on. We keep living. You can't bring Mia back, but you can let go of the guilt. She wants you to live, Harlan.
However, it is soon revealed that one of the team members had their own plan to steal the money. Rhodes discovers that it was Ellis. Ellis attempts to apologize, but Rhodes kills him using his bare hands. Rhodes declares,
Tomorrow we kill the warden, and then the poacher.
As Ani and Harlan exit the cave, someone intercepts them. A man named Oz calls Ani over and speaks. They believe Harlan kidnapped his niece and caused her addiction. Harlan responds,
No, we lost our child.
Oz becomes furious with Harlan. Harlan says,
We loved each other.
Ani intervenes to calm the situation. We need to survive these people first, she says. Since Oz and Ani are from the same community, he agrees to assist them. Oz shows them methane gas trapped under the ice, extremely explosive. They proceed to his ice shanties. Oz taunts Ani, claiming she lost her connection to the land and sold out by wearing that uniform. But Ani insists she is protecting her land and people. Harlan approaches Oz and says,
The crew that's chasing us, they're looking for this plane that's at the bottom of the lake. It's filled with cash. I don't want that money. Your people, Mia's tribe.
So, you think you can buy us off and change your luck?
Moments later, the sheriff arrives. He says,
Backup's on the way. Where is it?
Headquarters wants the location, but Ani never mentioned the plane. The sheriff pulls Ani aside and says,
We can make out real good here, Annie.
he is taking a 5% cut from the criminals, willing to split with Ani. Ani refuses. The sheriff draws his gun and orders Ani and Harlan into his car. He drives off with them. Meanwhile, Penn stops Drake from lighting a cigarette because methane is trapped beneath the lake. Serena spots the sheriff approaching. Harlan, in the car, says,
Sheriff,
Why would you do that? I can just take you to the plane. I'm gonna need your word that you're gonna let us go. I got a GPS tracker in the backpack.
When the sheriff reaches into the bag, his hand triggers a bear trap. His car flips over entirely. Harlan breaks the window and climbs out, pulling Ani with him. The sheriff is thrown out. As Harlan nears him, the sheriff fires his gun. Harlan tells him to calm down, but Serena shoots the sheriff from behind. She walks toward the car. Harlan fires the sheriff's gun at her, but Drake shoots Harlan from behind. The bullet doesn't kill him. Rhodes orders Penn to dispose of Ani, but Penn refuses, opposed from the start. Rhodes shoots Penn instead. He begins firing at Ani. Penn throws his lighter onto the methane gas. Flames erupt everywhere. Rhodes burns alive. Harlan reaches the shore searching for Ani, but Drake has her. Drake says,
You lead me there, and you both live.
They cannot trust him. Drake shoots Ani in her left ear. The next target is her right. Ani breaks free and Harlan attacks Drake. Drake overpowers him, but Ani strikes from behind. Harlan sneaks up and attacks Drake from behind, yet Heron is overpowered again. Ani and Harlan attack Drake together. Harlan drives a broken oar into Drake's throat and kicks him into the river. Time moves forward. Harlan begins preparing the cleansing ritual for Annie's tribe. During the ceremony, he experiences visions of his wife. Heron releases her from his thoughts and guilt. Ani discovers that the authorities recovered the plane, but instead of $20 million, they only recovered $4 million. This indicates that Harlan gave the remaining money to Oz and his tribe. They used it to construct a new community hospital. And with that, friends, this story comes to a close. Share your thoughts in the comments about how you liked this retelling. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.